Is there any chance or any knowledge that you have that anybody deleted stuff from his phone?
Nolan was like a brother to me. Nolan lit up every room he walked in. 4th of July, everybody was out there. Nolan rode out on the Triton, and then we had a Palm Beach, 18 Palm Beach. There was 4 guys on that. The rest of the group, which was ranged from maybe 10 to 15 or 16 people on my buddy's tide line.
Yeah, so y'all pretty much having a good time. And then you guys get ready to leave prematurely.
Right.
And like, what? Explain that, because you guys got there around 10.
Yeah.
It's now 4:30.
Right.
People are still out there partying and they're having a good time, but something happened to where it necessitated you guys to get the boat up and running. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So I had a girl come up to me and say, "Hey, your brother just got in a fight." I drank down and walked over there, and my brother was kind of angry, and there was a lot going on, but someone was getting pulled away. I don't know who it was. And my brother was like, "Oh, I just got in a fight and this guy punched me in the face," and I punched him right back. And then went to the ground, and my brother put him in an arm bar. And
was Nolan involved in any of this?
Absolutely not. When I was over there was a bunch of younger guys like my brother's age, and I mean, Nolan, I never saw Nolan over there.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. And okay, sorry, I just lost my train of thought.
So you get ready to go. There's an issue with the boat.
Okay, yeah.
And this is what
this led up to that. That's what I was saying.
So the fight happened with your brother, or a little scuffle. I'm assuming that it was cleared up.
You're right.
You got your brother out of that situation, and then how did you find out that this boat is sinking?
Well, I walk back over, and like we're probably around each other for a little bit. I mean, I wasn't thinking anything of it. I told my brother, I pulled my brother off the beach, and I was just like, "Listen, get in the water, hang out with us, calm down." I mean, he was calm, but I didn't want anything else to happen, And so once I got back over the boat, I got on the Triton, and the Triton had probably about 6 inches of water up to the transom. And I was freaked out because I'm good friends with Wyatt, and that was his boat. And, no water's coming out, no access water's coming out. And it was a big issue, because I think the reason was because there were so many people getting on and off the boat, and at some point the boat was very, very crowded, and there was just a lot of people on, so that it drags water in. And eventually, I think over time, we were out there for a couple hours, the boat just started filling up with water. So I popped the starboard side hatch, and the battery was completely underwater, and so the motor wouldn't trim down. I mean, my buddy would go to trim it down from the console, and it'd trim down, and then it'd come right back up. And so Wyatt's trying to throw a rear anchor, so we're caught, and he's, yelling at people. Everybody's kind of freaking out. And eventually, I'm like yelling at other people, trying to tell them, calm down, like, the boat could possibly sink, and I'm not paying attention to everyone around me. I was paying attention to my buddy's boat. And that's what all my other friends that were on that boat were doing, trying to solve the problem.
So you're on the boat now. The water is getting up to the point where the boat may be disabled to where you couldn't get it out from Horn Island. So what happens after that?
Wyatt jumps to the water, tries to throw a rear anchor, and my buddy Meyer, you're sitting, looking, trying to pull trash out the bilge. And the bilge is basically a pump that pulls the access water out the boat. So the bilge was failing to work. So any excess water was just sitting in the boat. It wasn't getting pumped out. And I looked over the gunnel, and I looked at the release hole for the bilge, and it was even with the water. So, I mean, we're all freaking out. All of our, we're not focused on anything else other than the boat. Well, then eventually my buddy Bart on the tide line is like, "I'm going to pull y'all out to where we're out of all this, all this chaos." Because we left at 4:30, and there were still just as many people there, if not more, than when we got there. I mean, probably around the same amount. I mean, it was crazy. Like, there was a lot of people. And, eventually Bart pulls us out, we left at 4:30, but we really weren't pulled out away from everybody. We were probably about a quarter mile out, and we had the towing strap pulled from, Bart's port side cleat or starboard side cleat, and he was on our starboard side bow. And so it was rubbing on his power pole. So Bart turned around, pulled up next to our boat, and we were just trying to get it situated. So that's when Wyatt called Cito. And Wyatt was like, calls him, because the cell service isn't great at the island, but once you can use your phone, but stuff might not just send, and it's not great. You got maybe one bar, it won't work that well. But once you get a little off the island, you have cell coverage. And even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island, it was fine. Like we had enough cell coverage to make a phone call or shoot a text over, but you don't have enough cell coverage to like send a picture, for example. So Wyatt.
So I want to go back.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I want to touch on that real quick, because the phone thing came up at some point. And so was it when you guys got off the boat?
Yeah.
Were people taking their phones off the boat, or is that not typical? Because I know that Nolan's phone was left on the boat,
right?
Even though after you guys had left. So can you explain that? Because I think people need to understand this a little clearer.
Yeah.
Was it typical for people to have their phones left on boats, or did they keep their phones in the water?
Yeah. Everybody kind of goes out to the island to get away from, their phones and everything else. I know I got on the boat to get away from, just the regular world. And no, when you're waist deep in water, no one's carrying their phone in their hand. Especially at Horn Island, the water has been very, very murky because of the rain. And when it's just very risky. If you're gonna have your phone in the water, some people might for a couple minutes and like maybe taking some pictures of each other. I know a lot of girls like to take pictures in the water at Horn Island. Guys do too. Like people like to take pictures, and but a lot of the pictures you see are on the boat for a reason. And so, no, if someone is on their phone in the water, they're using it real quick and then putting it right back on the boat. We were all waist deep in water. No one's sitting there scrolling on their phone. I never saw that once, and I've never seen that once, and I've been out the Highland my whole life. That's just not something people do. People aren't on their phones, and everybody has their phone, yes, but it's always on the boat. No one's getting off the boat with their phone. So.
And so you guys get ready to leave out of there, getting towed out.
Yeah.
And then where's Nolan in this situation?
Well, the last time I saw Nolan was 3:00, and Nolan was cradling a girl in his arms, Katie. Katie. And Katie, Nolan was sitting there, and the last time I saw him, I looked at Nolan, and Nolan was like shaking his head, laughing, and I was like, "Dude, you crazy?" I was like just joking with him, and but anyway. Nolan, that was the last time I laid eyes on him. But when we were leaving, obviously, no one is getting left at the island that came with us unless they demanded to, be there and asked, this is a very common thing at Horn Island. When you're out there, a lot of people ride out there with someone and in with somebody else all the time. I've done that 100 times. It's a very common thing, but Nolan was sitting by the boat with that Katie girl, and my buddy yelled for Nolan, get on the boat. We're leaving. The boat's having issues. And no, he didn't say that, but he was panicking. Nolan, get the F on the boat. Get on the boat. And Nolan said, no, I'm staying out here. I'm going to ride in with somebody else. And it's not uncommon to hear, but it's not like my buddy asked him one time. My buddy asked Nolan multiple times to get on the boat. Nolan, get on the boat. Get on the boat. We're leaving. If you're coming, you got to come now. And Nolan made a decision to stay out on the island. And like he said,
how many people heard that? Were there
at least just 5 everyone that was on our boat right there, because the Palm Beach had already left. My buddy went ahead and went home on the Palm Beach, and 3 guys on the way back. And Nolan wasn't the only person to ride out there with us and in with somebody else. We had multiple people in our group that rode out with us, and rode in on someone else's boat. And that, like I said, that's not an uncommon thing to do. You know, I mean, a lot of people do that. I could name probably 50 people out there that day that ran out with somebody and ran back in with somebody else. So I mean, it's not like it's an uncommon thing, but it's not like we just left him there, or my friends just left him there. Nolan made a decision to stay on the island after my friends asked him multiple times and told him to get on the boat, and he decided to stay.
And I heard the girl that he was with, Katie, had texted somebody that she heard people yelling for Nolan to get on it. Is that true?
And I have a picture of that. She texted my buddy, and the next day everybody was panicking and everybody's texting Katie, you know, because she was obviously seen with Nolan the whole day at the island. Katie sent a message to my buddy the next day and said, you know, this is the last time I saw him, you know, he's really sweet. But she also mentioned that the last time she saw Nolan was when my buddy was yelling at him to get on the boat. And she was right there to see that Nolan decided not to.
Yeah, and so you guys get in the boat, you start to get towed in, and you make it back. Now explain how did you get to the point where you were concerned about Nolan? Because obviously you said, hey, Nolan, y'all need to, or somebody, not
when
you,
did I get
but
to that point?
You guys had made mention Nolan need to get on a boat.
Yeah.
He didn't. Yeah. You guys get back to wherever you're going. Right. Explain that. Did you guys go back to somebody's house?
A friend who was on that boat just went on record for the first time, and what he just revealed destroys everything the internet has been saying about this case. For 6 weeks, people online have been building conspiracy theories, deleted messages, hidden evidence, cover-ups, suspicious behavior. But tonight, an eyewitness account is collapsing those theories one by one. He was there. He saw exactly what happened. He called the mother immediately. He called the Coast Guard. He cooperated fully with police. And he just explained in detail why the theories that have been spreading online are completely wrong. But here's what makes this case so complicated. While his account explains the circumstances, there is still a medical mystery that nobody can solve. An independent autopsy revealed something on the back of the skull, red discoloration, deep in the soft tissue. Doctors cannot explain what caused it. Could be trauma, could be decomposition, could be something else. But that mystery remains. So tonight, we have truth from an eyewitness, and we have mystery from the medical evidence. And somewhere in the middle is the actual story of what happened on July 4th on that island. So here's what happened on July 4th. Nolan and his friends got on boats headed to Horn Island. It was a holiday celebration. There were dozens of people out there, probably around 15 people between two boats. They arrived around 10 or 11 a.m. They were having a good time. But something happened that forced them to leave early. Something happened around 4:30 p.m. that necessitated getting the boat running and getting off the island. The friend just revealed what that something was. A fight broke out. Nolan's older friend got into an altercation with someone else on the beach. It was a brief scuffle. The friend was punched in the face. He punched back. They ended up on the ground. It was over relatively quickly, but the atmosphere changed. The vibe shifted, and the decision was made to get the group together and leave. But that's not the end of the story. While the group was dealing with the aftermath of that fight, something else happened, something critical that nobody has fully explained until now. The boat started taking on water. Not a little water, a lot of water. 6 inches up to the transom. That's catastrophic for a boat in open water. The friend got on the Triton and immediately realized they had a serious problem. The battery was completely underwater. The bilge pump, which is supposed to pump excess water out of the boat, was failing. No water was getting pumped out. It was just sitting in the boat. The boat was sinking. Slowly, but definitely sinking. This is why they made that distress call. This is why someone radioed sea tow. This is why assistance was needed. The boat was in genuine danger of going down. The friend was yelling at people to calm down. Everyone on the boat was focused on one thing and one thing only. Saving the boat. They were not thinking about Nolan. They were not thinking about anything except the emergency in front of them. They were trying to solve a genuine crisis. The reason the boat had taken on so much water was because there had been so many people getting on and off throughout the day. The boat was very crowded at various points. Water had been dragged in gradually. Over the course of a couple hours, it accumulated. By the time they noticed the problem, it was serious. So what happened next? Wyatt, the boat owner, jumped in the water and tried to throw a rear anchor to stabilize the vessel. Another friend, Bart, who was on a different boat, said he would tow them to safety, away from all the chaos. They got the Triton set up to be towed. They were pulling away from the island, and that's when Wyatt made the call to sea tow. This is critical. The call was made when they were already leaving, and when they were already being towed to safety. The cell service at Horn Island is virtually non-existent, but once you get away from the island, even a quarter-mile out, cell coverage improves. That's when Wyatt could make the call. That's when he could get through to assistance. Now here's where the conspiracy theories collapse. The friend was asked directly, did anybody delete messages from Nolan's phone? His answer was clear, no, but he explained what actually happened. Everybody goes out to Horn Island to get away from their phones, to disconnect. When you're waist deep in water, you don't carry your phone in your hand, especially at Horn Island where the water is very murky from recent rain. It's dangerous, it's risky. You put your phone on the boat. That's what Nolan did. He left his phone on the boat. This is completely normal. This is standard practice. The friend has been going to Horn Island his whole life. He has never seen anyone keep their phone in the water. They might take it out for a quick picture, but they put it right back. Nobody is scrolling through their phone while waist deep in water. So when Nolan's phone was never found on his person, it wasn't because it was deleted, it wasn't because it was hidden, it was because it was left on the boat. That's it. That's the explanation. Simple, logical, completely explainable. Hit the subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Because what happens next is where this entire case shifts from theory into something much more complicated. Subscribe now. But there's more. The friend was asked about the Snapchat issue. Why didn't Nolan post to Snapchat on July 4th when he posted almost every other day? The answer is the same. No cell service. Snapchat cannot upload without a signal. The friend explained that you can make a phone call or send a text at Horn Island. He called his mom when they were on the island. It worked fine. You might have one bar, it's not great, but it's enough for basic communication. It's not enough to send pictures. It's not enough to upload to Snapchat. So Nolan didn't post that day not because he was hiding, not because something was wrong, because there was no way to post. The internet has spent 6 weeks theorizing about deleted messages and hidden Snapchats, but the explanation has been simple all along. Bad cell service and a phone left on a boat. So what happened that night when Nolan didn't come home? The friend said he was worried. He had not heard from Nolan. He was thinking worst case scenario, and he made a decision that shows exactly what his actual priorities were. He called Nolan's mother, Christine, immediately. This was probably the first phone call she got from anybody. He told her everything, where they had been, when he last saw Nolan, what Nolan was wearing, the conditions of the water, everything. And then he called the Coast Guard. He spent 20 minutes on the phone with them, giving them a full description, full details, full cooperation. He was not hiding. He was not covering up. He was looking out for his friend, and he was taking immediate action to find him. Christine then made her own calls to the Department of Marine Resources and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office. The search started that night. The next morning at 7:30 a.m., the friend woke up to see Nolan's photo all over Facebook. He was freaked out. He didn't want to believe what might have happened, but he also knew he had to do something, so he got in touch with his family. They got on a boat. His mom came, his stepdad came, friends came, and they went out to Horn Island to search. When they got there, there were dozens of DMR boats, helicopters, planes flying overhead. They weren't just searching Horn Island, they were searching multiple islands, the whole area. The search was massive. Everything was being done. Everything was being mobilized. Then came the worst part. On July 5th, around 1 p.m., the friend got a phone call from another friend. They found Nolan's body. The friend broke down. He sat on his buddy's shoulder and cried. He had experienced loss before, but not like this. Not someone he was as close with as Nolan. Not someone he had known since freshman year in high school. Not someone who was like a brother to him. The friend said he can remember exactly where he was when he got that call. Exactly what he was doing. Exactly how he felt. It was traumatic. It was devastating. It was the moment his life changed. And then came the conspiracy theories, the accusations, the viral videos, The claims that the friends had killed Nolan, that they were responsible, that they had deleted messages and hidden evidence. The friend cooperated with police immediately. July 7th, he talked to the lead investigator. He gave them his full story top to bottom. He dotted every I and crossed every T. All of his friends cooperated. They were the first people questioned because they had been with Nolan. They talked to investigators as soon as they were called. They were fully cooperative. No lawyers, no delays, no refusals, just full cooperation. But the narrative online was different. The narrative was race. Then Crump came to town and made it about something it wasn't. The friend was asked directly, "Do you think any of this has anything to do with race?" His answer was clear. Of course not. If Nolan had ever felt uncomfortable around them, which they never gave him any reason to, he wouldn't have hung out with them. But look at their social media. Nolan has been posted all over their pages since freshman year in high school. Every day they're back from college, they hang out. Every time. All the time. They were like brothers. So absolutely not. There was no racial component. There was no hidden prejudice. There was no sinister motive. There was just a group of friends out celebrating July 4th. And tragedy struck. So where does this leave us? We have an independent autopsy that reveals a medical mystery. Red discoloration that doctors cannot explain. And we have an eyewitness account that explains the details surrounding Nolan's death. A fight that prompted an early departure. A boat emergency that required immediate action, a distress call that was made in genuine crisis, a phone left on the boat, no Snapchats because there was no cell service, no deleted messages, no cover-up, just a series of events that culminated in tragedy. The medical examiners still cannot explain how Nolan ended up in the water. That question remains. That mystery remains. But the conspiracy theories that have been circulating online are now collapsing under the weight of actual testimony. The truth is messier than the theories. The truth is more complicated than social media narratives. The truth is that good people were involved in a tragedy nobody saw coming, and a family is still left holding more questions than answers. We will continue following this investigation. When the grand jury reaches conclusions, we'll report them. When new evidence emerges, we'll cover it. When answers actually come, we'll bring them to you verified and not a moment before. Nolan Wells deserves truth. His family deserves truth. Subscribe now so you don't miss the next development. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.